second. This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of April 9th, I'm reading This meeting of May 14th with the instructions for internet access was included in a meeting notice sent to the Bergen County Times and the Courier Post on January 4th, 2024, and advertised in said newspapers on January 7th, 2024, and January 11th, 2024. Respectively posted on the website and the bulletin board in the municipal building on January 4th, 2024, and has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. We all rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gilmore?
Here.
Mr. Montgomery?
Here.
Mrs. Evans? Here. Mr. Klaus?
Here.
Mrs. Torty?
Yes.
Okay, so now we get to the minutes of April 9th. I need approval of the regular minutes of March 12th.
I make a motion to approve.
April 9th. My eyes are all over the place tonight. Of April 9th, 2024.
I think Ken made a motion.
Yeah, I make a
I'll
motion
second it.
to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have reports. I don't see Sergeant Antonucci. If he comes in later, we'll go.
He's
back.
not gonna.
He's not going to make it tonight?
No.
Okay, so minus Sergeant Antonucci's. And just a note, the item E, the emergency services reports, that's actually for March. They submitted it as of April, so they still owe April's. I need a motion and a second file.
Motion. Second.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so right now we're up to Anna. You have a discussion and presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. So, as you know, I'm the leader of the Green Team. I see some of my members in the audience over there. One of the initiatives we've been pursuing is to create a diversity, equity, and inclusion profile for Hainesport. We needed to identify 5 groups that potentially had needs that weren't currently being met by Hainesport's existing structures. Now, some of those groups that we identified are groups that you would obviously expect to see. So disabled people perhaps are renters, poorer people, people in our mobile home communities. But I did find, well, we found, a couple of groups that I think surprised us somewhat. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about those. And just to say that the tools that we used would be the most latest census data and various policy mapping tools that are available on the internet. So one of the things that we discovered is that whereas Hainesport's African American community has stayed relatively stable over the last 10 years, our Asian community has doubled. And with the help of some local knowledge, I was able to identify that a lot of this is because we've got a burgeoning community of Punjabi Sikhs. And that was interesting to me because I didn't know that we had that. Another piece of evidence that supports that is that South Asian languages are the 3rd most common in-home language being spoken in Hainesport, obviously after English and Spanish. So all of this data is in the handout that you have, committee, but I don't want to go through it painstakingly piece by piece, just to draw your attention to some of the findings. So I do think that this is an interesting finding for us, and especially because culturally speaking, that this population tends to live in multi-generational households. So it would be grandparents, parents, and children. So these are multi-generational communities, people living in our communities. The other group that I think is worth considering is our older residents. And if you turn to the map on the last page of the packet, this is actually a policy map, and it identifies one of our block groups. Hainsport has 4 different block groups. These are the smallest unit that the census data gets divided into. And the block group that's highlighted dark blue in this map, actually 44% of the residents are over 75. Okay, and I've mentioned this to a couple of you on occasions. This is the block group that contains the neighborhoods known as Rancocas Heights and also the Glen. Now, it's not really surprising that the Glen is one of those, is an issue because, of course, it's a senior, active, older adult community. So it's a 55-plus community that was built 20 years ago. So it stands to reason that many of the residents are the original residents and they're now over 75. I think what's more concerning for us as a town is the residents who are older, who are living in Rancocas Heights, because that is also older housing. And I have recently highlighted a couple of instances where I've seen on social media some of those residents are struggling with some basic services, such as keeping their yards clean and tidy, mowing their lawns, moving heavy furniture and stuff like that. Now, I'm not a social policy expert, so I don't exactly know what we need to do with respect to this group, but I do know that we need to be aware, because as people get older, they do typically become more vulnerable. 75 plus is typically a more vulnerable population. And the other thing to note about both these groups and also the other groups that I've identified in the handout is that although we do have excellent online communications, our website, the app, we record the township meetings, some of these groups may not be able to fully utilize those resources because of age or lower income or language barriers. So I do have these following recommendations, which is what I'll end with. Firstly, that we offer an internet training course, maybe in partnership with the Burlington County Office on Aging or with the Hainsport Senior Citizens Club. I know we've done previous educational activities with the Senior Citizens Club, and if possible, provide free transport from the Glen and from Rancocas Heights. We should print and distribute information on the Lifeline Federal Program, which is dedicated to making phone and internet services more affordable, and actively promote this program at the Township. We should send out an email announcing that the Township website now uses Civic Plus Audio Eye to make its website more accessible to those with visual disabilities. We should put register-ready information on the website that helps residents with special needs register annually to aid emergency planning. We should consider having a separate page on the website with links and information devoted to assisting seniors. We do have a page, but it needs more information and material and links on it. We should consider translating some key township announcements into Punjabi and making them available at the municipal building via the Creekview Lakeside HOA and on the website. And this is the one that I'm really excited about. We should encourage the formation of a Hainsport Cricket Club team. And if we can, allocate some space at the municipal park for a cricket pitch. And I do have some members of the community here who are hoping to tell you a little bit more about cricket and their hopes for that during public comment. So, any thoughts?
Well, I have a question. I thought it was the Green Team, and I feel very uncomfortable assuming certain people of certain groups or something. And I don't like stereotyping. I don't like it. I don't understand what this is about. Maybe I need to be educated more, but I'm a little concerned that we're making assumptions about certain groups of people based on their race, age. I mean, I thought that's what we're told not to do. So I have a concern. Why are we doing this for the Green Team? What does this have to do with being green? That's my comment.
It's about sustainability rather than being green. So the Green Team is just the sort of buzzword name for the team that works on sustainability. But sustainability as an idea isn't just about being green per se. It's about making sure that we use our resources in a way that is fairest for everyone in the community, and in such a way that our children and grandchildren can also have access to those resources.
I just don't know. I was mayor when I gave you permission to do this Green Team, and it was an energy efficiency thing. That's what it was. It was put forth.
No, it was
Well, it
never-
wasn't, that's what I was told. But I'm just a little concerned that we're going to start classifying people, grouping people, and identifying, oh, you're old, so you need this, or you're Asian, you need this. I have a concern about that. I think could be taken wrong. I would like to consider everybody on their own basis, not, I don't think certain people need certain help just because of their age or their race or their nationality. That's just my opinion. And, obviously, we're not going to agree, but that's what I was taught. You always look at people as an individual and their personal individual needs. I mean, I've been in this town 50 years. I know who needs help, and it's not a big deal. Most people in this town get help when they ask for help. And, I don't think we need certain programs to help certain people because of their age or their race.
I'm
or
just talking about making more resources available to
certain
potentially
groups of people.
vulnerable people. And I believe that we are, because we have a certain area of our town which has a very high concentration of older people in older housing. I think that is potentially a vulnerability. And all I'm trying to do is make sure that those people have access to the resources they need. Now, if you disagree with that, then we're going to disagree.
No, we'll disagree because I've been in this town 50 years. We've always had a high level of older people in this town because people love this town. People don't move out of this town. People die in this town because they love it here. That's what happens in this town. Because I think there's plenty of resources for people, and people know where to reach out for them. That's just my opinion. I would just rather you stick with a energy efficiency thing as opposed to reevaluating the town's population based on divisive factors. That's it.
Okay, does anybody else have a comment from the committee? No? Well, thank you very much, Anna.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
I see we have a representative from the state police here. Do you have a report to give?
No, this time very much.
Okay, just wanted to make sure before we check you off.
Is it okay to
Thank
ask
you.
him questions? Is it okay to ask that gentleman questions or no?
Who?
The trooper.
This trooper?
No?
Well, he's,
No? Out of order?
should we,
Okay,
he may not be able to answer
okay,
this, though.
okay, that's fine, that's.
But I think, will you be around a little later and when we take a break to perhaps answer a question?
I hear you. That's
Okay,
fine.
thank you.
Cool. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you, that's fine.
Okay, I can't start yet. Tara, I have to wait for Tara.
I'm sorry, she went to go make some more agenda copies because we
Okay,
ran out.
because I need someone to do the timer.
Oh. This is for the ordinances?
Well, then it's the same thing, it's limited to 5 minutes.
For the LoSAP program. Oh, well, because we have any timer system.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. Can we just pause for, until she gets back?
Yep.
Thank you.
We're going to just take a couple minutes to attend to something.
An administrative break.
Yes.
Yes.
Are we
had to-
online?
We had to make copies of the agenda because we ran out.
Are we online?
Yes. We do have one resident online.
Can we have a group for sustainable snapper turtles?
Did you go see your picture in there?
Word from our sponsor. Word from our sponsor,
think Bob
commercial or
should.
something.
You got a picture of that? Nice.
Yes.
I want sustainable snapper turtles.
I think you do. I think you do have them.
I think that's actually more money than I was understanding.
Thank you. Okay, it's okay.
Thank you, Tara.
Thanks, Tara.
Thanks, Tara.
Okay, so we are now at the time where we have comments from the public regarding agenda items only. Comments are limited to 5 minutes. Does anybody have any comments? Yes, ma'am? Your name and address?
Deanna Sludden from 14 Heather Lane, and I'm representing the Environmental Commission. And one of the ordinances that we're voting on tonight is the tree ordinance. The tree ordinance. And we had a chance to review this at our last meeting, and I submitted a letter of proposed or suggested changes to that. Did everybody get that letter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I don't need to read the letter out loud, or unless that's, I don't know what the procedure
Some
is.
highlight, if you want to
Okay.
highlight, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of things that we saw, we're meeting two agendas in some ways, because we're trying to, as a township, become certified under Sustainable Jersey so that we can apply for grants for various things. And so some of the wording, specifically the purpose, adding more, fleshing it out a little bit to show that the purpose of a tree ordinance is to help with stormwater by recharging the water into the groundwater. Trees absorb, and so the purpose we expanded. We were also hoping that there would be like a monitoring of the trees so that if, and the tree isn't watered or whatever in 2 years and it dies, that it can be replaced again. And then also that we call out the fact that Hainesport is encouraging residents to plant native trees when possible, and definitely avoid. So just, it was some restructuring, some rewording that I hope will be taken into consideration before the ordinance is passed. That will both help Hainesport, help the ordinance be a little bit more clear, and also maybe help us in our goal to try and have this qualify us as, having a sustainable tree program in Hainesport. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Janice.
Thanks,
Thank
Janice.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to say? Yes, sir. This is just what's on the agenda.
Oh, I did mention cricket,
It's not on the agenda.
but does it not count?
It would be later.
I just thought it would be more effective if they spoke immediately after me.
Is this in response to the
Yeah.
report Anna gave?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Arshdeep Singh, and we live at 20 Patriot Way, Hainesport. So my thing is that we're trying to introduce cricket in Hainesport area. So by myself and a couple other peoples, we play cricket here. And we have sometimes problem playing cricket in a baseball field. Whenever we get chance, we play in because a cricket ball that does not bounce on a grass. So that way we use the baseball field, the soil field. So if you guys can arrange some space for pitch that where we can play cricket, it's going to be good for us and good for the Hainesport Township, because we're going to introduce some league for cricket. As you guys might have heard of MLC that they introduced last year. It's a major league cricket, and USA and West Indies hosting World Cup this year in the USA. They're making portable stadium because cricket is so new to USA. So that's why they're making portable stadium in Nassau County. It's like Long Island area. So yeah, that was my thing. If you guys can arrange some space in a park that where we can make pitch. And if you want more information, I can have all the information print for you guys. What
The
how much space we
size of
gonna need.
yes, the size.
Yeah, the size it's somewhere around 130 to 150 yards all around, and the pitch is going to be the playable pitch is 23 yards, but it need more space. I would say 35 yards for run up. Have you guys ever watched cricket though?
Just in the movies.
Never ever got a chance.
In the movies.
Okay.
So about how large of an area is it?
Huh?
How large of a total area would be required?
It will be 135 to 150 yards each side. It's going to be circle.
So
What's
a
the diameter?
150-yard circle
Yeah, it's a 150 yards diameter.
diameter?
Diameter, yeah.
So it's a circular
Circular.
It's a circular
exactly, yeah.
field. So from the center,
150 on each side.
150 from the center.
Yeah, from
Okay.
the center.
And this couldn't be a shared area like with a soccer field or nothing? It would be,
It can be shared, but thing is that when the pitch, it has to be like soil, clay pitch. So that is the only problem with because we cannot play on grass.
so we'd have to see if we have the space for what you want to do.
Yeah,
Without taking
I
away
checked
from-
your two fields, those are empty just right before, the one field on left, where the kids plays, that one, and the other one close to the school.
Yeah, I'm not sure who owns, I think the school owns some of that. So we'll have to find out, whether the school uses it or, that would be
Okay.
my
He's
impression. I
talking
don't-
right here, you're talking right there?
No, you're
No,
talking
no,
out
this
out
is
by,
smaller.
out
No,
by
no,
the
no, he
school.
said two places, I thought.
Because there's a footpath between those, it's just one behind those, the play area for kids, right
Right.
next to it,
And then where's the second area?
cross. It's
Across?
bordering school, yeah.
Across the walkway.
So we don't know
Across
if
the
that's-
walkway?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of like adjacent to the, what's that game, not the tennis courts, but what are they?
Pickleball.
Pickleball courts, adjacent to that.
Yeah.
And then across the walkway in that
Yes.
field, we'd have to find out who
the
owns it.
both area
Whether we own
are
it?
good, yeah. So,
And how many people do you have on you have a team?
we so far have like 10 peoples.
And
Well,
how many live in town?
8.
Okay.
8 of them. And it requires like at least 11 players. We cannot attract more people because we don't have any designated area to play. And we love to play whenever we get a chance here. So we used to go to Wellingborough. Over there, there's a problem because locals, they play, the limit of players, you cannot be, there's less involvement there.
But I'm right that that's the only other cricket pitch in Burlington County, currently speaking, right?
Yes.
Willingboro. There's
Yeah,
only
well-
one cricket pitch in Burlington County.
Yeah.
So honestly, Hainesport could get in here.
Well,
they
but there's
actually
also
divided everything.
upkeep, I imagine.
I'm sorry.
Upkeep?
Maintenance
Maintenance.
of the cricket pitch.
It's not a big deal. We just have to cut the grass. We can do the maintenance by ourselves. I can personally do it. But the ground, yes. We need
And
somebody
is there
to
like
grass.
stadium seating in the,
Um,
or something? Just asking.
It's not going to be like.
Nobody
stadium kind of.
watches?
People watch it. They bring their own chair, just like soccer field.
Okay,
It's same that-
that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, that's the only thing. The maintenance of the pitch, if you guys think to make it, once you make it, we'll take care of it.
Well, I don't know if they could take care of it, but we could certainly look into it. Can he work with Joe or you
Well, he
guys
said he
and find
could-
out if it's feasible?
Provide more information, that would be helpful.
Okay.
And we can
You
talk
hook
with
him up
Public
or-
Works.
Yeah.
I'll give all the information to Anna, maybe she can.
Yeah, it works for me.
will that
Okay.
work?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Hopefully he won't be sued for having gone over 5 minutes.
well, it was an interaction. I didn't hear the thing go.
We interrupted.
Is there anybody else has a comment about anything on the agenda? Not seeing any, I'll close.
We have somebody online, I don't know.
Oh, well, let's ask.
If anybody online has a comment on the agenda items, please unmute. Nope.
Nope. Okay. I'll close comments from the public. All right, ordinance 2024-6, amending Chapter 22 of the Hainesport Township Code entitled Length of Service Award Program. This is a public hearing and final adoption. Do we have anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard on this ordinance? Online? No? Okay. So I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second?
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Torty?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes. Ordinance 2024-7, amending Chapter 89 of the Hainesport Township Code entitled flood damage prevention. This is the public hearing and final adoption. We're open for public hearing. Anyone wish to comment? Anyone online? Nope. Okay, we'll close public, I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Torti?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes. Ordinance 2024-8, repealing and replacing Chapter 44 of the Hainesport Township Code entitled Affordable Housing. This is public hearing and final adoption. Does anyone in the room have any comment? Seeing none. Anyone online? No? Okay, so I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Torti?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes. Ordinance 2024-9, adopting a tree removal replacement ordinance as required by the New Jersey DEP. This is the public hearing and final adoption. I wish to acknowledge the Hainesport Township Environmental Commission for their work in getting some information to us. I believe some of the items were adopted into the resolution.
Well, I provided you with the Hainesport Environmental Commission's recommendations, very good recommendations. I made a request to our planner to provide follow-up comments on those recommendations, as well as our zoning officer. I provided you with their comments as well. I think Mr. Gillespie was included in all of that correspondence. I think we generally, agree and applaud sections 1 and 3 as recommended. I think the challenge is 2, which is, quite frankly, we spent an inordinate amount of time on this ordinance, honestly, over a period of 2 months. All of us professionals, countless of hours. I hate to be very blunt with you, but this is a typical state dump and dive ordinance. This is a regulation that is being pushed on us, and most municipalities are simply adopting their model ordinance. It wasn't really until about a month ago did we realize as professionals across the state that we did not have to adopt the model ordinance. We just needed to, they gave that to us as
A guideline.
a guideline, if you want, where we could amend it as we needed for our particular municipality and our needs. So that is what we did, and because of that, we spent a lot of time on this, and we did so trying to strike a balance between obviously what the ordinance and the state are recommending and what we should be doing in terms of stormwater regulation, recharge, carbon footprint, but also the needs of our residents and our businesses, and trying not to be overreaching.
Right.
As well as what are the implications to our zoning office and permitting. We did remove the fee that the state suggested we collect for our residents or our businesses to apply to us to remove their trees and to replace them. That was removed. We also added to the list of exemptions. So I think we did a really good job on this. Again, it's a policy decision, as Mr. Gillespie stated earlier, in terms of the DBA of the trees for the residential, which is what the Environmental Commission suggested, as leaning a little bit more towards what the state recommended, a little bit further away from our recommendation. The recommendation from the Environmental Commission is 8 inches. Ours was 12. Originally, the state was 6. So it's a policy decision of how you want to go with this. I did a tutorial 2 minutes today with Committeeman Ken, and we realized that DBA is not as simple as DBA. You think 4.5 inches from the ground to the top of the tree, you measure, it's the diameter, right? No, it's the circumference divided by pi. Is what you
4.5
get.
feet.
It's crazy, 4.5 feet.
yeah.
So there's a lot more to it, and we actually went through an iteration of what the circumference is, or the DBA is.
Appreciate that.
It's a lot, what we're suggesting is not very large trees at all. These are not large trees, but, again, the Environmental Commission's recommendations are great. They're considerations that, should be brought to the table and discussed. But if you do want to make any changes, Mr. Gillespie stated that we should table.
Well,
Because these haven't been incorporated
There's a
into
time.
what we're
there's a-
looking at.
We have a time constraint here, don't we? Or what's the,
Yeah, I don't know how worried you are about
Okay.
that. And whether the state's going to come down and punish Hainsport Township for doing something thoroughly and with great thought, as opposed to just knee-jerk reaction to what the state tells you to do. They might. If you were going to, you have three choices. One, just adopt the ordinance as is and move on. Two, have a public hearing on the ordinance as is, right? Close the public hearing. And either adopt it and then move immediately to amend it to include some new provisions.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend that because once you've adopted it, again, bureaucrats at the state may say, hey, you adopted it. You can't change it now.
Right.
So the third option is if you do wish to accommodate some of the concerns or suggestions raised by the Environmental Commission, the third choice would be open it up to public hearing on the ordinances in front of you. Close the public hearing. Move to amend, however it is you wish to amend it, based on recommendations that you have from HTEC, from Mr. Taylor, and from Ms. Newcomb. Those changes would be subject to publication, and then you would have a public hearing just on those changes at the June meeting, and then you could adopt the entirety of the ordinance as so amended.
Is that your recommendation, as
If you're going
opposed
to
to
make changes to
tabling
that-
it?
If you're going to make changes to it, that's my recommendation.
I would like to make at least those two
Right.
of the Environmental
No,
Commission changes.
I agree.
I personally would lean towards making all of them, but then that's me. I don't think that we're not compelling residents to remove, to not remove, we're not compelling residents to keep the trees, right? So it's just we're changing the size of the tree for which they have to submit paperwork and then get some form of approval or otherwise a consequence of removing the tree, right? That we're not making them keep the tree. So, I think some people think that we're making them keep the tree. We're not. We're just saying, if your tree is this size or bigger, you've got to submit paperwork to the township, and then we'll look at the tree and we'll make recommendations and suggestions. Some of those suggestions include replanting the tree elsewhere in your property. You can also replant the tree elsewhere in Hainsport, or you can pay a small sum of money into a kitty. So I think that isn't an unreasonable suggestion to go a little smaller on the tree, but that's just me.
I have a question and comment, just so everybody understands. So this is your private property at home. If you have trees that are damaged or diseased, it's okay to just remove them, is that correct?
Those are exempt.
Those are exempt, you can remove them. But if you have a tree that maybe grew too big and you don't like where it is and you don't like the looks of it anymore and you just don't like it anymore, then we have to come to the township and get permission to cut the tree down, right? And we have to replace it.
if it's certain size?
It's a certain size, just so everybody is clear on this.
Right now, if it's a residential tree and it has a DBH of 12 inches, and this is how it was proposed in the current ordinance, 12 inches or more, then this would trigger this application process and this notification process to the township. And the replacement size of the tree would be one tree at 1.5 inch caliper, is what we're
Okay.
asking. And if you don't want to replace it on your property, you can contribute to a fund and where we could, add to our arbor project or, find another location. But you're right. But just to be clear, we've
And
never
also,
done this before.
Right, we haven't had this before, this is new, correct? Because I was thinking, living here 27 years, I never heard of this before.
Right.
But anyway, also, the zoning officer will go around, right? And you had a year to replace the tree, is that what I read in all the, so if the zoning
Yes.
officer sees that a tree has been removed, you will be contacted about that, is that correct? Is that how that's going to work?
And they're going to monitor if
They're going to
We would
monitor, right?
upon submission of the application, because we wouldn't know prior to an application. So it's on the resident or the business to communicate to us that this is happening. And then that would
Yes.
trigger an application. And then, yes, we are now tasked with monitoring collectively the trees that are not exempt that would need to be removed. Now, just know that there were very few exemptions that were provided to us in the model ordinance. We have, I think that maybe there were 4, and we have 9 now.
Okay.
So we, again, we really worked hard on not being overreaching into our residents and businesses' business.
Tough job.
But also.
Tough job. You worked hard.
Also satisfying what we are being mandated by the state for our MS4 permit to do.
Okay.
In addition to the previous flood damage prevention ordinance. That was also a mandate, which
okay.
we're 14 days late on, and they have not come down to arrest me or us. So, right.
So glad.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that, because this is your private property.
Yeah, I have some concerns.
But if it's your private trees,
Big trees on your property.
I have massive trees. I have an oak tree that's 130 feet tall on my property. Every year, I spend thousands of dollars with professional tree maintenance to trim branches that potentially can fall and go through my roof.
Right.
So if my tree guy says my 130-foot oak tree is dangerous, I can't just take it down?
Yes, you can, because in number 7, it says
it's
hazardous
dangerous.
trees may be removed.
And so we can take the word of a
professional.
professional then,
Yes,
a professional arborist? Okay.
yes.
That's no problem, because I only have professional people, but some people got big trees like
Sure.
I do.
And just
Massive.
know that this is the second iteration of the state's mandate on this tree ordinance. This was mandated previously, I believe, 2 years ago.
Kind
And
of
a lot
sort
of towns, right, a lot of towns immediately adopted the ordinance modeled by the state with no changes, and it created a lot of issues within those towns. We did not, because I knew that this was not going to be, we were going to be here today. So fortunately, for our residents and for policy, you guys as policymakers, this is our, doing it now.
Would this, if somebody wanted to build onto their house and had to remove a tree, would that fall under an exemption?
Yes, if the removal of one tree that falls into any of the categories 1, 2, and 3 from a single lot within a 2-year period, trees removed in conjunction with additions to existing single-family residential units and the construction of permitted accessory structures such as decks, patios, swimming pools, and sheds, these tree removals may extend 15 feet from said additions and structures to be exempt.
Okay, great. Sounds like you thought of everything.
yes.
No.
like it.
Work on that.
They
Paula.
didn't just,
I'm sure we did not.
Well, I'm happy with it. I mean,
We'll be back at
I
it.
think it's the best
You
we
know.
can do. And I think you did a great job.
Yeah, and obviously, the Environmental Commission's input is, valuable as well.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I had some comments as being part of the Environmental Commission with Mayor Gilmore. Yeah, I can attest that there was a lot of thought put into it and a lot of work, so thank you, Paul and Janice, for leading that cause, and John and everyone else on it. It goes back and forth, right, because it's your property, right?
Yeah.
It's your property, and if you don't want that tree anymore, part of me is like, well, it's your property. But the other thing is that, we're looking at all of Hainesport, like it's everything else. We can't just look at one person or 2 people or whatever, we need to look at the group as a whole. So that's always what we need to do up here, and sometimes that decision isn't always easy. As an old Boy Scout, I don't know if I call myself a tree hugger, but I love those big old trees, and we had a big old tree in my backyard, and it started leaning towards our house, and we had to make that decision. But that is an exception, right? That's an exception. It's just that if it's just a tree that you just don't want anymore for whatever reason, that's where it comes down. So part of me says, well, it's your property, you should be able to do what you want. But the state is mandating us to look at it that way, not only for, I guess, global warming, but for flooding and I guess just from our own town, just having big trees is what Hainesport has. So there's just a lot that goes into this, and I just appreciate all the work. And Paul and I, went through this and looked at this, and there's just, it's a difficult decision. I like the fact that we've made 9 changes to it and just didn't go carte blanche, because we care about our town, we care about our environment here in Hainsport. So, I just think that I don't want to put added burden on our administrators and our zoning officers going around measuring up 4.5 feet, then taking a thumbtack and measuring it around and having it that way, and then going through all that, and then dishing out fines and everything else with it. So I hesitate to do that. I don't want to be obtrusive for our residents, but at the same point, we do need to be able to be mindful. Some of these trees that are like a black walnut tree, which is indigenous to New Jersey, is 50 years old before the diameter gets to be 12 inches. So, I mean, holy cow, who knew that? 50 years. Some of these older trees are 80 years old before they get to that point. So, without knowing all that, it's like, holy cow, I mean, some of those trees are older than many of us in this room. So,
Not you.
I'm a good-looking 80-year-old, aren't I? I'm telling you, if I'm 80, yeah, no, I'm 39. But anyway, so just some things that all went into considering this. And again, if it's a threat, then it's something different. So just want to expound on some of just the extra work for that. So, yeah, I
already forgot why we're here.
I hesitate, yeah. I'm ambivalent about the whole
Back on
thing.
Okay.
So,
Here's the
I'm going to
path forward.
open it for public comments.
Yes, ma'am.
We have any comments from the public with regards to this ordinance,
And that's on the ordinance as it's.
as it is
now.
written now? Sure.
Still Janice Ludden and 14 Heather Lane, just speaking maybe as myself. So I realize that we look at our private property and we think we can do whatever we want on our private property, and that is an American thing. But we have laws about a lot of things, right? You can't have, farm animals on a small lot. You can't do certain things without going before, because we live together. We're a community in the end. So we have our private property, we can't keep junk on it, and all these other rules. So we have things already where you can't just do whatever you want to do. As far as trees go, I think we tend to look too short-sightedly, and I think the tree ordinance, I don't think we're going to be, going around driving and say, oh, that tree came down and they never applied and we're going to fine them. I think the ordinance is more to help people come to realize the value of trees in our environment. Hainsport is as beautiful as it is, and not like northern Jersey where there's, huge sections without trees, because we have these trees, and they do take longer than most of us are going to own our own homes. So I think that some of the changes are to help people just respect, not move into an area that has trees and then cut down all the trees without thinking about, the value of those trees and the future and what our kids are going to need. And they are a huge aspect of what helps our environment, between the oxygen that they produce and the carbon dioxide that they put into the ground. They do help with flooding because they absorb a lot of water and they keep soil from eroding. So I think, although it comes down and we get, nobody can tell me what to do, I think in some ways we need to start thinking more as a community and as a state and as a country, that we need to start protecting these resources that we inherited. So that's just my.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Janice. Yes? Mm-hmm. On this ordinance?
Yes.
Okay.
So Shuli 3 Elsinore Drive, Hainsport, obviously. It's funny because I was just looking at a tree today on my property that the developer didn't put in all beautiful trees. There are some trees that are pretty gnarly in Hainsport Chase. And two trees actually went through my mind. That one, next to my driveway, it's strong as anything probably, but I was thinking about taking that down. When that ordinance passed, if this ordinance passes, right, that then I would request permission to do that and have to replant a tree somewhere.
Else
Any
on the
tree.
property.
And that makes common sense. You take a tree down, 99% of the people are going to want to replant something, okay? I have a diseased tree in my backyard that I was planning to take down next week or the week after. I also have another tree, very healthy, but it's leaning at such a precarious angle, I'm concerned. It's a leaf-bearing tree that in a storm in October, for instance, when the leaves are still on the tree, that this thing could actually, keel over and take down 2 fences that adjoin my property. Once this ordinance passes, what are my recourses? This tree is healthy, but, given a 100-mile-an-hour wind, something may happen, which is reasonable. So what are the options that are in the ordinance, okay, that's of concern, I would think, to any property owner? And then the third thing, we all want to save the environment. It's stewardship. It's just good stewardship. We have to protect our resources. But the incursions, one after the other, on the personal, private property and what you do with your private property. Not only here, we heard lately about something regarding the Indian reservation, that there are state mandates. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but so many of these mandates filter down from the Think Global, Act Local. And they are incursions on the individual's rights. And that's a concern that I think everyone should consider, okay? Because I think sometimes the point of view is, people are stupid and they're not going to do the right thing. They're not going to look out for the environment, so we have to make a law. We have to make a rule. And that's the wrong way to go about it. And that's my piece. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone online? Okay, so
I just want to make one comment.
I'm going to
Okay.
close public comment.
Okay,
No
okay.
comment.
So I'm closing public comment.
Okay, just as somebody who has a lot of large trees, I like trees. I try not to take them down. It's always a safety concern, not a maintenance concern. It's a safety concern, that's all. So just want people to know, we just don't haphazardly take down trees. It's not but I will tell you, when you do cut down a tree in a wooded lot like mine, the canopy grows, actually more leaves and branches grow from the neighboring trees to try to fill that canopy. So nature kind of takes care of itself. So that's it.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Gillespie.
So if the committee wants to amend, you should determine how it is you wish to amend the ordinance that's on the table. And then, once you've established that, and if you want to just use, I guess, the memo that was submitted that included both Mr. Taylor's and Ms. Newcomb's comments, you could probably just do that, which would be, I think, taking the EC's May 8th memo, the bottom of the first page, incorporating that italicized language.
Right.
And then on page 2 of the memo, picking up the part about moving the paragraph about a list, right?
Yeah, adding 2 additional requirements to
Yeah, but-
section C2,
But Kathy's
correct?
against that.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's why I say, if you're following Kathy and Mr. Taylor's recommendations in conjunction with the EC, you would do the italicized language at the bottom of the first page, the italicized language and the movement of the paragraph recommended under paragraph 3A of that memo. That would be it.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
What are we voting on?
That
Nine.
we're
What is the
going
motion?
to add,
Oh, yeah, we should add them, yes. Okay, I'll
We'll add
second
the
that.
italics that was in the memo.
Okay, I'll second that.
So procedurally, we'll have that for you. I'll have it for Paula to put in the paper and on the website, I guess, so
Okay.
that, and at the next meeting, the public hearing that you will open will only be on those changes. We won't go back and revisit 8 inches versus 6 inches or 1.5, whatever it is, or whatever it is divided by pi. So that'll be the public hearing on those changes.
So,
Okay.
So I think the motion was to amend the ordinance on the table as we just described.
okay, we need to vote.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Torti?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes. Okay.
And
Thank you.
so there will be a public hearing on June 18th.
The next meeting?
Yes, June 18th.
Okay,
Wow, that's
thank
our
you.
next meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, ordinance 2024-10, canceling certain appropriation balances provided for various capital projects. This is the first reading and introduction. The public hearing and final adoption is June 18th, 2024.
Motion.
You have a second?
Second?
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Torti?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes. All right, we have some consent agenda resolutions, 2024-74-5 through 2024-77-5. Can I have a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second?
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Torti?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes. Resolution 2024-78-5, authorizing the execution of use and operation agreement with the Hainesport Emergency Squad for equipment and apparatus. I need a motion and a second.
Motion. Or you can have the motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Torti?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes. Resolution 2024-79-5, amending the policy that establishes minimum criteria to drive municipality-owned and insured fire apparatus, EMS ambulances, and emergency response vehicle. I need a motion
So
and a
moved.
second.
Second?
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Torti?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes. Resolution 2024-80-5, calling for the modernization of the Open Public Records Act, OPRA, and the swift passage of S-2930/A-4045.
Could we discuss this one a little, please?
Do we need a
Absolutely.
motion first?
What?
Oh, okay, never mind.
No, you need a motion and a second, then you have your discussion.
Okay.
Okay,
So I'll make a motion.
Second?
okay,
All right.
discussion.
Okay, great. So this has been revised from the original resolution, which was to urge our assembly people in our legislative district 7 to pass this act. The act was voted on yesterday, and they both voted against passing the act. That would be Andrea Katz, who is the Democrat, and Teresi, I don't know his first name, who is the Republican. Those are our elected representatives in the Assembly, and they voted against this act. I spoke to Andrea personally. She does not approve this act. I did my own research, and I also found a statement made by the American Civil Liberties Union on this act, and it is very disapproving of the act. So we've now changed the resolution, so it is a resolution to urge Governor Murphy to sign the act into law. Myself personally, I would prefer to urge him to veto the act, and so would the ACLU. This is what the ACLU says. It's shameful that the majority of the New Jersey legislature voted in favor of S2930A4045, a bill that will severely restrict access to government records and limit the public's ability to hold elected officials accountable, despite overwhelming opposition from community members, stakeholders, advocates, and 81% of voters from across the ideological spectrum. Legislative leaders should be strengthening mechanisms for government transparency, not undermining them in backroom deals shielded from public scrutiny. To protect transparency and accountability, we urge Governor Murphy to veto. Thank you.
Can I comment?
Yes.
First of all, this ain't a backroom deal. It's been done quite, and it doesn't severely restrict public access. Basically, there's a lot of companies that ask for Oprah records to find out who's doing business in their town so they can profit from it. Our township clerks and administrators are inundated with Oprah requests for financial gain. There's a lot of good basis to this. So I kind of, that what you read is, I mean, it's very, I don't know, disingenuous. I'm not really thrilled with the way it was worded. So I think this is a good thing, and we need to give some assistance to our clerks and our administrators, because you're inundated with Oprah requests that are used for financial gain from businesses. And there's no avenue to get away from it. So it does not restrict any individual from getting any information from the town.
I agree with that, yes. I agree with that, because if anybody in our town wants information, we're open. You come get it. You can find out whatever you want. You don't have to do these Oprah requests that take our clerks that are so busy doing so many important things away from their jobs to do all this research. We all get the notices. We all have to check to make sure we don't have anything on our phones, or et cetera, et cetera. It's a waste of time, taxpayers' money, really. It really is, because you don't have to do that often here in Hainesport. If you want to know something, we're open. We'll tell you. You come talk to them. They'll tell you whatever they need to know. So I think that sometimes it's getting abused.
Right, and I agree with that, but I don't necessarily think this bill is the right solution. And what you're saying also, Karen, is correct. Hainesport is a small town, and we are very open, but this bill is a statewide bill. We are passing a resolution in Hainesport to urge the governor to sign into law a statewide bill, which will apply to every township in the state, not just our municipality, right? So we need to think outside the community here. Why we need to do this anyway, I'm not sure, but it's not about Hainesport.
But it is about limiting access, controlling some of these requests. And
Right,
I think we definitely need to
And they're
control some of
mostly
these.
commercial
requests.
requests. But if anybody here wants to Oprah request things, they can. It doesn't stop anybody from doing that.
So
That's right.
I think that one of the, sorry.
Okay, can we get a little bit more clarity from Ms. Cosco?
Actually, we'll
and
start with
Mr.
John.
Gillespie?
I'll let John take the lead on this one, and then I'll comment.
So I'll just give you some thoughts from having been doing this now for 40 years plus. It is a statewide bill. And statewide, since Oprah was enacted, hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayer money across the state of New Jersey have been spent on both the time and efforts of custodians responding within the 7 days to the records requests, sometimes needing more time, and sometimes with reasonable requesters getting that additional time, and sometimes being told no. Taxpayers are funding all of that. Since the enactment of Oprah, if a requester was denied access to a record because the custodian thought, A, it wasn't a public record, or B, was otherwise exempt from disclosure and denied the request, and the requester went to court, the requester was automatically entitled to counsel fees, and they were on a lodestar. They could be $400 or $500 an hour, right? $600 an hour. Which meant that custodians didn't have the luxury of guessing wrong. I mean, there are at least probably 6 or 7 opinions that come out in the course of a year just from the courts, never mind the Government Records Council, interpreting Oprah. If it takes that many opinions in a year from the courts to interpret Oprah, how is it fair that a custodian is personally responsible for payment of legal fees to a requester who wins in court, right? You weren't allowed to guess wrong. This legislation, one, takes that liability away from the individual custodian, right? Makes it a municipal obligation, which is nice for the custodians. But it doesn't change the fact that hundreds of thousands of dollars a year will still be spent on custodial time and on legal fees. What it does do with regard to legal fees, however, is it allows the court to grant counsel fees in appropriate circumstances. It's no longer mandatory. It's not a shall. And in most cases, under the statute, they'll have to show bad faith or a willful intent to keep documents that were clearly public records out of the requester's hands. So there's a little bit of a burden there now to show that they acted in bad faith, because, I've defended these cases. I've got a Supreme Court decision on it. Custodians aren't sitting there going, I'm not going to give it to you, right? They know there's a risk in not doing it. They're trying to make the right call, and they're balancing certain privacy interests of residents whose records are sometimes requested with the requester's right, or maybe not so much a right, to get that information. So you can say what you want about transparency. Transparency is still there. And one of the time-saving things for custodians now will be, this legislation allows custodians to direct the requester to a link on the website or on some other website, right? So no longer have to print out documents and send them. You can simply refer someone to the link in which those documents can be found, right? As to the ACLU's comments, I invite anybody to read those 11 lines in this statement. And when you have language that says it's shameful, or a bill that will severely restrict access to government records and limit the public's ability to hold elected officials accountable, and 81% of voters from across the ideological spectrum, whatever that means, and from whatever poll that was taken, and backroom deals shielded from public scrutiny. All that is invective and rhetoric. I invite anyone to tell me where in that statement the ACLU says what's wrong with this bill, other than using rhetoric and invective. Give me specific examples of where the public interest is harmed. The legislation was an attempt to balance the right of the public to receive and get their public records through Oprah requests. It's against the time and expense to taxpayers of having to comply with not only doubtful or vague requests, but under previous case law, if I remember this correctly, someone could request of the custodian documents A through G, A through K on January 1, and the custodian would provide them. 5 months later, that same person can request those same documents, and the clerk was not allowed to say, I gave them to you in January, you have them. Had to go through it all again to produce those records. This legislation says, if those records were once, if those records were once provided, and then now they're requested again in a duplicate fashion, and nothing's changed since the last time they were given, the custodian is allowed to now say, I gave them to you January 1, and nothing's changed. I'm not giving them to you again, which saves I don't know how many hours on a statewide basis from custodians having to waste their time and waste taxpayer money. That's my observation.
Thanks, John.
You have anything to add, Ms. Costco?
Yes, I'll try to keep it brief. A little
Sorry.
hard. No, it's okay. So I kind of have the same comments to make. USA Today published an opinion in the Burlington County Times about it. The same rhetoric, disgraceful, this disgraceful bill. And after we published an editorial demanding that the governor veto the bill if it was passed, the assembly pulled it from the bill from consideration. I mean, to think that they were single-handedly responsible for this to be vetoed. I mean, it just goes to show you the audacity of the media sometimes as they control legislation like that. But anyway, my point is that this does not, this isn't a cloak of darkness. This is simply, I mean, when you as a resident want to communicate with the township or an official apply for a license or send an email, don't you have a certain level of privacy? Don't you think that you have a certain level of privacy? Or do you know that you don't right now? That people can absolutely gain access to your permits, to your correspondence with the municipality. This bill provides a little bit more protection for our residents when they're making applications for permits, or filing for licenses, or having communication or correspondence, private correspondence with an administrator or governing body. That's what this does. It prohibits erroneous misuse. And again, as Mr. Gillespie says, that leads to tax-funded abuse, is what it is. I cannot tell you how many times I have forwarded an email or an Oprah request, of course, under the cloak of anonymous, because you're allowed to be anonymous when you make that request. So you don't know who your requester is, and that's okay. That's their right, obviously. But I've forwarded Oprah requests to our solicitor for legal opinion. That costs money. Because I'm afraid of being sued for making the wrong decision as the clerk. You know, there are exemptions in the law. There are exemptions that we have to follow. But it is absolutely unequivocally misused and abused. And that's what this does. It does not take away people's rights to information, but there are a lot of businesses that are profiting off of the information that is
Right, they
transmitted
sell
to
your
us.
name to-
They sell your name.
Yep.
Most of our Oprah requests are construction-related because, you know, the permits or abandoned property, they want to know every month abandoned property lists. Terry, you can weigh into what, I mean, you do most of the processing of Oprah's. What else? Tax lists, delinquent property lists.
Yep, building permits, sometimes even the dog licenses.
Right.
Companies will want that information.
Purchase orders.
Purchase
Because
orders.
companies want to know how much vendors are spending, so they want to it's all for profit making, a lot of it is. So I think that's really what this bill is pushing for, is to tighten up some of those controls. What have we gone through? This is 20 years now, Oprah's been in
Somewhere
the law
around there.
around there. Is, you know, it's gone through the process, and they're trying to make adjustments, you know, that obviously are an issue over the past 20 years. So this is up to the governor at this point. So this resolution that we have before you is just simply sending in a support resolution for this legislatively passed
It's the
amendment.
updated.
Yes.
You have a revised one. I wasn't aware, I don't get the Burlington Times.
Yeah, we
But,
have to.
but it's a Gannett newspaper, right? So if you want to research how many times Oprah lawsuits have been filed by either the New Jersey Press Association or Gannett, pretty easy to do.
Which we have to continue getting, because we are mandated to publish everything at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, all of our information that we, ordinances and things like that, by law.
Can I say one thing more?
Yes.
I do think that there are some good things in this bill, and I do think that Oprah needs reform, but I think that this goes too far. And the one particular aspect that I object to most strenuously, and this is not, again, this is not about Hainsport, but we are urging the governor to make a statewide action, is the removal of the fee shifting. I trust Paula absolutely to make great decisions and do the right thing, but I think in other municipalities elsewhere, other counties, what the removal of the fee shifting is doing is it's empowering people in a position of power and responsibility to make bad decisions and conceal stuff because they know that the person who wants the information can't sue them anymore, right? So that it's not about Hainsport, it's about the state, and it's the fee shifting that is the problem. Thank you.
If I'm reading this correctly, it has been adopted?
It's been approved by both the Senate and the Assembly, and it's going to the governor for signature.
And if you want to, we actually have, you allowed me to post on our website an Oprah page, which shows, I think we went back 3 years? How many years did we go back with the data?
I think 2 years back.
2 years back, and that will be updated monthly for this year, so current, and it shows all of the Oprah requests that we've received. It has the log that we use to manage all of our Oprah requests. It also has links to the Oprah statute, to an Oprah form, So I encourage anybody to jump on our website under the clerk's page and check it out, because that was just put up 2 weeks ago.
Okay. So, that being said,
You have a motion and a second.
I'm making a motion.
No, you already have it.
Oh, okay, we already did that, you're right.
That's how you got into the
we got
discussion.
Yes. Sorry.
we got into this. We need a vote.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
No.
Mrs. Torty?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes. Okay, so 2024 budget presentation.
Sign up first.
Are we ready?
If I could just have 1 second.
Okay.
Get ready.
I know we're all anxiously awaiting.
Our CFO, Dawn McLean, is here too. She's going to jump in when needed. Any questions for her? Please, feel free to ask her. Okay. All right, so the 2024 budget is here, and this is for your consideration for adoption. We had introduction last month. Our municipal operating budget this year is $4,646,462. And then we account for our anticipated revenues, which is a little over 1.9 million. So the 2024 municipal levy, the actual amount to be raised by taxation, is $2,743,233. So on this pie chart, it shows the main parts of our municipal budget, our operating expenses being the most. Then our capital improvements, which I'll go over what those are this year. I apologize for that little sliver of blue, which Don pointed out. I could not remove that from the pie chart without ruining all of the formulas, so I had to leave that in there. But it doesn't take away from the data. Next is deferred charges at $173,000, and then salary and wages, and then our reserve for uncollected taxes. So as you know, we have to account for our non-taxpayers. You know, we still have to pay our bills to all of our other taxing entities. So we have to make up for that. So we have to put that in the budget, but we do recoup it with our delinquent taxes and late taxes. Dawn, if I'm making any mistakes here, please feel free to jump in. Or if you want to add to it. So the main budget highlights for this year, we utilized $710,000 of our fund balance. Again, this is a fiscally responsible amount to utilize as it continues to position us for financial stability. We do not use the available cap bank in this year's budget. It is a modest increase from last year's budget at $77,992, or 2.93%. Again, we must continue to plan for a volatile economy. We have annual increases in our solid waste fees, which I do have a running chart of how much our non-contractual amounts keep increasing from the county for our solid waste fees. Pension and health insurance premiums continue to increase. And then our rising costs and commodities and inflation, right? We've been hearing it nonstop. This does affect us as well. So the average home that's assessed at $281,933.66 for this year would see an annual increase in local municipal taxes only, this is all we're talking about, of $19.01 for the year, or $4.75 more each quarter, or $1.58 per month of an increase. So your average, for those average home assessments, monthly municipal tax bill will be $86.92. And Hainesport Township, we are in year 2 of being debt-free. So there's
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Not many towns can say that. So again, as I said earlier, our capital project goals detailed here. Creek Turn Park is collectively our priority. This dedicates $500,000 in capital funds for our Phase 1 improvements. I do want to add to this that we have also applied for Green Acres funding at $1.2 million. We also applied for the Congressional Aid Act as well at $1.2 million. So we are actively trying to get grant money to help fund this project. It also it adds funds for the municipal park, the hockey rink here. We're doing the flex grip tile system as recommended by the users. All of the sideboards will also be replaced. Our municipal park will also see new tennis court resurfacing. Chase basketball court will be resurfaced, as well as the tennis court resurfacing. So this adds $150,000 of funding for that. Your ordinance that you had this evening for first reading on closing out some old capital money will also go towards this project. And you also dedicated money in last year's budget, which have been appropriated. This is actually going out to bid soon. I think it's going to be published. Terry, you just put it in the paper yesterday or today?
What's going on?
We're accepting bids for this work.
For all of
All of these.
For all of
boards.
it, okay,
Yep.
gotcha,
So we're actively doing that. And then again, it allocates another $100,000 towards a fire rescue engine. So a little bit bigger. This is one page of our detailed budget, but I think it provides a lot of useful information. When the budget is put together and presented, you know, the school, the local school, the county, and the regional school are always estimated. So these are just guesses. Our municipality is always the first to strike its budget. However, the Hainesport School District did just strike their budget actually this week. And what we anticipated and what they actually passed was significantly lower.
Interesting.
So just to quickly go over it, so the total general appropriations that are needed for all the taxing entities is $22,358.14. Then you reduce it by our anticipated revenues. So the cash required for the schools, the county, and the town to operate in 2024 is $20,454,785. So then we calculate the reserve fund collected taxes. We have to put that in there. We have a total budget, and this is how we deduce and determine what our local purpose tax is at $2.7 million. I want to highlight the bottom number, the based on net valuation taxable. If you look at the difference between 2023 and 2024, there's a over $11 million difference, an increase in our net valuation taxable for Hainesport Township. So that means we've received an additional over $11 million in assessments, which helps our tax rate. It reduces our tax rate. So again, our tax rate is total revenues needed divided by your assessed valuation. So when your assessed valuation increases, as ours did this year, and while your revenue requirement remains the same or less, your tax rate will go down because the tax burden is now spread across a larger evaluation base. So I just wanted to kind of give that little lesson on how important it is that we continue to grow our community, and that's based on commercial, residential, industrial. So the larger our tax base is, the lower our tax rate is for our residents. So our local tax rate this year is 0.346. And again, I kind of went over all of those monthly and quarterly costs. So the estimated tax rates, because as I said earlier, most of our other taxing entities, they don't have their information, with the exception of our local district. Those are our 2024 estimated rates. So the municipal portion of the yearly cost to taxpayers is $975.62. And that covers all of your local services: snow plowing, brush cleanup, local roads, parks, municipal services here in the building. There's your 2024 property tax levy and the rate. It's just kind of looking at it differently in dollar figures. So in the bottom, the actual local school district, $9,750,806, whereas the estimate was $9,898,605. And there's your percentages. So in 2023, the municipal levy represented 3.2% of the total property tax allocation. This year, what is it, 1457%? 14.57%? And then this is last year's actual property allocation. My apologies, I don't have access to the wonderful $100 bill. Dawn and I did share the YouTube tutorial last night, which was 14 minutes long, and I'm like, I do not have enough time to figure this out. So I just thought it would be kind of cool anyway to look at it differently. So that is it for my presentation. Kept it a little shorter and sweeter.
Good work.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Without the budget pages.
Good job, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Paula. Thanks,
Dawn,
Don.
did you want to add anything? Dawn, did you want to add anything to any other? You're good?
Sure. Okay. So we have Resolution 2024-81-5, which authorizes self-examination of the 2024 budget.
I'll make that motion.
You have a second?
I'll second.
Let somebody else say it. Everybody.
Okay.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mrs. Torti?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes. Resolution 2024-82-5 authorizes the 2024 budget to be read by title only.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Torti?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes. Public hearing on 2024 budget. So I need to open for public comments? Yes, sir. You want to come up and state your name, please? Your address, telephone number.
Bruce Levinson, 2 Fox Court. You guys look great. Good to see you all. I just wanted to again thank the Township Committee and our professionals for being responsible with our Hainsport tax dollars. I just want to say that the percentage increase in our municipal tax levy of 2.9% or 2.93% is below the national average, which is currently about 3.5%, so we're doing a great job. Just to make note that we do have to anticipate future expenses, such as a new fire engine, which is going to be about $1 million, a retrofit to an ambulance of $165,000. We've had solid waste increases of 15.6% and tipping fees, that's for solid waste, and our health insurance benefit plan of a 7.4% increase. And so we're experiencing increases, but yet we're still doing a great job in containing our costs. So I just wanted to give this Township Committee, again, with our professionals, kudos, great job, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks. Thank you, Bruce.
Anyone else in the building? Yes, sir. Name? Address? Anything
Scott
else you want to
Cooper,
share with us?
44 Patriot Way. The first pie chart that you showed up there talked about uncollected taxes. What does that mean? Like, can you, and what does the township do about uncollected taxes?
We go to tax sale. So, Dawn, did you want to? Sure, go ahead. I would love for you to.
So because the municipality is charged with collecting all the levies from the city, we have to pay 100% of their bill when they want it. So we have to budget a little bit higher to cover anything we have not collected overall. So that it's a required minimum buffer. It's based on our tax collection rate. When we say, what do we do about the collections? Each year we're having a tax sale, which puts out a limit on the properties.
So eventually,
Better not be-
we recoup that money.
It is very reduced.
Okay.
So, and any of the money that is not made from that reserve, then goes into our fund.
Okay, thank you. It was represented as a pretty small piece of the pie.
Yes.
And it's not up there to see it right now, but it was actually misrepresented because it's actually a much larger piece of the pie.
It's 363,000 is what we've budgeted for out of
But I'm
4
just,
million.
in the
Yeah.
pie chart.
Oh, okay.
There was
I
another
understand.
piece of the pie that was like
Sure.
173,000, that was like
Sure.
twice as big
Yeah.
as that piece of the pie. So it actually is a pretty large
Yeah.
piece of the pie.
It is, and I believe our tax collector, we collected 100% last year. I believe we had 100%,
That's great.
98.22. Right, but everything does, yeah, we do have tax sales, so we
Thank
do
you.
recover it.
Okay, anyone else in the room? Anyone online?
Do you have a resident online? I don't know if she has any comments.
No comment? Okay. We'll close public hearing. Resolution 2024-83-5 adopts the 2024 budget.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Okay.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mrs. Torty?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes. All right, on to the business licenses. There are several to approve. I have a motion and a second.
Motion.
So moved.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mrs. Torty?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes. We're now open for comments from the public. Comments are limited to 5 minutes. Yes, ma'am. On your topic of choice.
Good evening, Samantha Loveman, 2514 Creek Road. I just wanted to mention a little bit, I am a resident volunteer for the Hainsport Green Team, and I just wanted to kind of give a little bit more information. For those who might not know, it is a volunteer group, and we are working to get certified under Sustainable New Jersey. Their mission statement is empower New Jersey communities to build a better world for future generations with the tools, training, and financial incentives necessary to pursue critical sustainability initiatives. And what Anna was talking about with the diversity, equity, and inclusion report that she worked on, or the whole group worked on, we actually just used that in our we're working with Sustainable New Jersey and the PSMG partnership program to support energy efficiency in our communities. We're actually able to use that kind of information to build a better program and to make sure that we are reaching all of our residents within Hainsport. So if they're not technical, the idea of doing more pamphlets, things like that, or even trainings, it just is a really nice program where we're able to take certain actions that we're working on and use them in other actions to help support our community. And then the other thing I just want to discuss real quick was I do agree that there are some good points to the Oprah revision, but I did do some research. I am not a lawyer, so I won't act like I know everything and that I am an expert. But to quote State Assemblyman Brian Bergens, Republican from 26th District, who did vote against this bill, he states, here's what the bill does not do. The bill doesn't in any way, shape, or form limit the commercial request. It doesn't get rid of the data mining. So I'd really like to know, and this is not an educational forum, so you don't actually have to answer me, how this revision actually stops the commercial part of the requests. And he goes on a little bit further. I won't go into those details, but he does say, here is what it does do. The bill oppresses the public. For those, and he goes on, and he asks his other assembly members, show proof that the only thing that's preventing people is a litigation threat. That doesn't necessarily affect companies, but it does affect the individual person who may not be able to afford a lawyer or things like that. So I just wanted to state that although there are some good points, I think it's something that our state should look at and revise to make sure that the people get represented and have the right to learn information. So, thank you.
Do you know when he made that statement?
I'm sorry?
Do you know when the Assemblyman made that statement?
I believe yesterday, the 14th, is today the 15th?
Okay.
It was the 14th, yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Yes, sir.
My name is David Horvick. I live at 2225 Fostertown Road. My wife is a proud volunteer with the Hainesport All-Volunteer Emergency Squad, and I'm here to comment on the recently published audit that was done of the squad. I'm a physician. I've been involved in many medical audits over the years, and there's kind of a common theme with all of them. They give the people who are being audited time to comment before it's published. This was recently published, and as per Paul Bush, who's head of the squad, he may have spent 5 minutes with the people who were doing the auditing. When the leadership of the squad looked at it, they found 30 inaccuracies or discrepancies, and none of them were addressed before it was published. They feel that all of them are wrong. They're going to submit that information to the township for review. In my opinion, with most audits, there's a give and take between the auditors and the people being audited such that data is complex and data can be misinterpreted. And if the data is entered inaccurately, it could make the squad look bad. So that this is a volunteer squad. The conclusion or final part of the audit says to consider going to a private enterprise. It gives no allowance whatsoever for improvement, which in most medical audits is ridiculous. Usually there's an opportunity to make corrections. It's not mentioned in the audit whatsoever. So that what I would urge is that the township review the discrepancies, inaccuracies, mistakes that the leadership has discovered, that they review them, that they go over them with the auditing company and allow a give and take between the EMS leadership and that group. As well, quality matters, and certainly as a physician in the township, I want a good squad. From what I've seen, it is a good squad. The for-profit companies have a vested interest in taking over. They'll charge the township and they'll charge each patient who takes a ride with them. So that, to me, that can hurt the township. The audit said that that was a positive. I don't see it as a positive. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Name, address.
Hi, Andy Dick, 17 Lennox Drive, Creekview. My name's Andy Dick. I'm here to introduce myself. I will be the Republican candidate for Township Committee. Just a little bit about me. Born and raised in East Hampton. I'm an RV graduate. Came back right after college. I've lived in Hainesport for 20 years now. My wife Melissa and I raised our daughter Katie here. She went to Hainesport schools. She's a junior at RV now, so we're kind of lifers. Love it here. I would like to thank present committee, past committee. We do love it here. It's a great town, low tax rates, we just talked about, high home values, cool sites like Big Rusty. This is a great place to live, so I want to thank everyone, past and present, for the 20 years I've been here. I would like to bring a perspective to the community and to our committee through the youth of our town. I've just spent the last 10 years working with Sacred Heart CYO as president and a couple other youth organizations. So I think I bring a unique perspective that we can engage a part of our population that sometimes we kind of forget about. 31% of our town is under 26. So that's a third. I can reach out to them. Ideas such as rehabbing the town baseball and softball field, maybe adding new sports, I mentioned cricket, sports like that. That's great for the youth. Creating volunteer opportunities for our teens, things like food pantry collection and things that kids can do to get involved in our, not just Hainsport's community, but get them more involved in their own local communities countywide. Engaging the younger adults to become more involved, creating programs. My daughter and I created a buddy ball program at CYO this past spring. It's for all 5 to 19-year-olds, special needs children. They each get their own buddy on the field. They get to play baseball. They get their picture day. They get their trophies. That's something that my daughter did, and I think that's something we can create opportunities for kids to do more things like that. So I want to bring more of that to the table. In passing, also, I think my daughter and wife might be watching online. I did not get to see my daughter tonight. I had to rush straight to here from work, and she just was nominated to be on the Carpenters Cup for softball for Township. Congratulations, Katie, if you're watching. So
Very
great.
nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Name, address, please.
Robert Quay, President, Hainsport Emergency Squad, and engineer.
Address.
I don't live in the town. I live out of town currently.
But we,
6309 Liberty Avenue.
Thank you.
In Mays Lane, sorry. My, some of the comments made last meeting, I'm here to give some answers to, current to training. Me and the current captain are responsible for the training. We do not use any taxpayer dollars. It's all 100% volunteer donations. It's how we run our squad. Yes, there is we do mandate certain qualifications once they do come in EMT or going to school. Other than that, it's just response times. I can give you current. I have a 2024 current response time. Current response time for 2024 estimate so far is 8 minutes, 8 minutes response time. Compared to what the report said, I have also the last couple years, 2023, we did 8.1 minutes. And from 2021, 6 of 21 to 12/30 of 22, our average response time was 8 minutes and 10 minutes. Not the amount, what the survey said was inaccurate. That's our current response times from the county, and our chief did his due diligence, and the response times that we were shown were atrocious and made us look bad. That's what we have. That's what I preserve.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the room? Yes, sir.
Bruce Levinson, 2 Fox Court. So I guess my question are, with regard to EMS and response time, who's actually recording these response time, and where are we getting that information with regard to response time? Does anybody know?
The county.
It's a very tough question to answer. So we do receive the dispatch reports directly from Central. We have a shared service agreement with Burlington County 911 Central Dispatch, so we do receive their dispatch reports.
Okay, so that So what you're saying is that the documentation is coming from the emergency services, is not,
Well, we also receive monthly reports from the emergency squad, which provides that information.
so the information is coming from the
Also.
emergency squad and also from 911. Is there a discrepancy in those numbers as far as response time is concerned? Because obviously, I mean, we have to get our people there quickly because we need to be able to service our residents, because if we don't, it could be life and death issue. So is there a discrepancy in the reports that are coming from 911 relative to what is being reported in other venues?
There's also an EMS system that's used per Mr. Bush during our meeting, and then there's the dispatch reports as well. The dispatch reports are based on the unit number, the dispatch time, the en route time, the arrival time, and then the clear time.
So then I guess the question really is, who do we believe? So with regard to the EMS folks at the 911 dispatch people, what is the response time that they're telling us that should be, and how we're being serviced?
Well, so dispatch can be from the emergency responder's home. There are emergency responders that are allowed to arrive to the scene in their POVs,
Which is,
personal vehicles.
okay.
Then what is also happening is that the ambulance is arriving, at times, is arriving separately by the driver. There are times that the ambulance is arriving only with the driver, meeting the EMT who arrived by POV, who called into central dispatch and said that they were dispatching out. So the arrival time of the ambulance could actually be different than the actual,
People who get there.
the person leaving from their home. Generally, and I believe the statute mandates that if a rig is in use, they're supposed to have a driver and an EMT.
So there's got to be a two-person.
Two-person.
Okay.
And if I'm mistaken, if you're a non-certified, which is a 100% volunteer agency, you're allowed to have two. I think if you're certified, which you're billing for services, whether it's hard billing or soft billing, you're a state overseen entity, so you go through more vigorous certification process. And I believe those entities have to have 3 in their rigs, two EMTs and a driver. And that would be Lumberton Emergency Squad and America. And America is who is assigned by Hainesport Emergency Squad as the mutual aid first responder.
How many are we as Hainesport required to have? A minimum of 2, or?
A minimum of 2.
Okay, so really, we only need 2 people to get to that rig in order to then service whoever needs to be serviced.
Right, but there are times that is not happening.
And with regard, and I don't want to overstep my time here, but with regard to that, so what is the response time that we are finding on average that we are able to respond as Hainesport? And then what is the actual national average of time?
I have that from our reports. There's different averages for paid, and then there's a different average I should say there are different allowances for a paid crew, and there are different allowances for a 100% volunteer crew.
Yeah.
So there is more time allowed for an all-volunteer entity. I don't know those numbers off the top of my head.
That's okay. So, I just want to say that with regard to an event that took place about 2 Thursdays ago, I was really
We
expecting.
need you to wrap it up, please. You've gone.
Okay, I was expecting our team. I was really shooting for our team, but unfortunately, they didn't arrive. But, I don't want to be critical, but I just want to make sure that Hainesport is well protected by an EMS department, and I want that to be ours. Because I know the people in our department are well dedicated and loyal to our Hainesport Township residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. No, you need to come up and give your name and address.
I'm Margie Horvick, 2225 Fostertown Road, Hainsport. I think the misunderstanding, the discrepancies are with the audit. The audit says we respond at a certain time, and they were incorrect. When it comes to our response time, we are actually faster than national
You're
average.
talking to us.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to explain to him, my misunderstanding.
need you to-
Okay, so, yeah, we are faster than the national average, which is 12. We generally respond by 8 minutes. I think Paula Tosco explained that. Also, we have what's called duty crew. So that means that certain times when, being all volunteer, this isn't 100%, we're not perfect, but we do have people. We are at the station. So even though I live on Fostertown Road, Friday nights, I spend the night at the station. So our response is immediate, and then however long it takes for us to get there. What people don't know is we also have dual coverage. So being a volunteer squad, if there is not a duty crew on and people are just responding to a call, like you said, from home or, and going from home to the station or from home and showing up on scene, the other townships that are close to ours get the call at the exact same time as us. And if we cannot respond within a certain short amount of time, less than 2 minutes, the other first aid squads are automatically dispatched. So that being said, our township never is without coverage. It's just that the coverage from another township, as my husband stated, you're charged $1,000 to be taken to the hospital, and we don't charge you anything. So, and you didn't see a little square on the pie that was dedicated to the volunteer EMS and fire department. So we're all volunteer, and we do, everybody in the township is very generous and donates. You guys support us, give us little thank you parties every now and then, and always thank us at every municipal thing if we show up with our thing. Everybody's
And we
grateful.
appreciate our
thank
volunteers.
you for supporting us, and we hope that the township, that's one thing too, that we are within our budget, and we are one of very, very, very few townships that have a volunteer first aid squad anymore. Everybody works for profit. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? Yes, sir.
I'm starting my one.
Got it.
Can you give me like a sign for a second?
It's nice and green, so you'll see it
Okay.
disappear.
Joe Shuley, 3 Elsinore Drive. I have a PowerPoint presentation that I will deliver tomorrow probably to the administrator for your detailed comments on this. It'll be much shorter than the 6-page tome that I sent after my last comments, so I'm sure you'll be appreciative of that. This is something completely different. We have New Jersey Assembly Resolution 29. Assembly Resolution 29 requests the President to discontinue funding for and to withdraw from the World Health Organization due to its past failures with respect to COVID-19 and the potential to claim and exert excessive authority over citizens of every country, naturally ours as well. And by extension, that last phrase really implies potential to infringe upon our constitutional rights. Hainsport residents, therefore, that would agree with that resolution should support the resolution and contact Assemblyman Teresi at 856-817-2143 and Assemblywoman Katz at 609-850-2397. The rest of the presentation is going to be some commentary on it and some additional details. And I will read from the statement from the resolution at the bottom of the ordinance. It's the sentiment of the General Assembly that the WHO's failures in its pandemic response, including a slow and inadequate initial reaction to the emergence of the disease, the issuance of inconsistent and erroneous guidance that may have exacerbated the spread of COVID-19, and its unjustifiable deference to the Chinese government, particularly with regard to the WHO's investigations into the origins of the virus, as well as concerns as to the potential breadth of its authority to reach into every aspect of life across the globe, merit withdrawing the United States from the organization. So on Memorial Day, while we're remembering our fallen service members from all of our wars, the World Health Organization is convening in Geneva, Switzerland at its 77th World Health Assembly, and 194 nations will be present, and they're going to be discussing the draft pandemic agreement along with changes to the international health regulations, and WHO hopes that this agreement will be finalized and eventually signed as an international treaty. So meanwhile, here in the U.S., the key concern is that it's a power grab by the World Health Organization and its benefactors and underwriters, including Communist China, Bill Gates, current U.S. administration. And the concern is that it would erode national sovereignty of the signatories, not only ours, and limit individual freedoms. And another key concern is that WHO will be able to declare a global pandemic for a variety of reasons, from anything from gun violence to climate change, and then direct worldwide actions ranging from border closures, travel bans, mandatory vaccinations, vaccination status monitoring, restrictions on movements, and so forth. So this is a very egregious agreement. Most especially, the concern is the censoring of Americans' speech and opinions, whether they are medical doctors, PhD researchers, or ordinary citizens. There's a Zero Hedge article on the internet dated just yesterday that attorneys generals from 22 states have signed a letter to President Biden urging him not to sign the agreement. Ultimately, it's the goal is to cede authority to the World Health Organization and its Director General. So there's three questions, not enough time to go through. Does an agreement or a treaty become the supreme law of the land? And the answer is no. As you can look at Thomas Jefferson, Supreme Court decisions that have covered that, particularly, it's held that courts may not give treaties domestic effect in a way that interferes with individual rights guaranteed in the Constitution, and so therefore, I would urge support to AR 29. Am I done? Any more seconds?
Pretty good.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
All right.
Joe.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
Good catch. Yes, ma'am. Whoops.
Shelby McCarr, 98 Washington Street, Hainsport. So I just wanted to touch back on the comment that Bruce Levinson made about a call 2 Thursdays ago. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Hainsport was at that call. It's very unprofessional to argue with another agency that arrived 30 seconds before us. So the response times from both organizations were both 7 minutes. We responded from home, they responded from their station. So we were on that call. We were the professional ones. Unfortunately, we were not able to take our patient, but we stepped back instead of arguing back and forth on who was taking the patient and made the proper choice to make sure that our patient was in the care and got to where the patient needed to be at that time. I also wanted to state that my name is written on the survey, and I was given 0 opportunities to speak to anybody regarding the survey. So if anything, I would please like my name removed from the survey, and I don't feel that I should have any words in it, as I was the chief, but I did not speak to anybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the patient appreciated
Yes, very
the
much.
care that was given. Anyone else in the room? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Jamie Kennedy, 6 South Hunterdon. I would just like to ask the committee to consider fixing the lights in the municipal complex before it considers installing, constructing, or whatever the case may be, a cricket field for 12 people, when we have hundreds of people that utilize the paths and the lights are not functioning.
Okay.
And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the room? Anyone online?
We do have a resident online. I'm going to say no, she's not unmuting, so.
Okay. That being said, I'll close comments from the public. Now it's time for comments from the administrator.
I'll get through the regular business first. Just want to announce that the road paving and reconstruction is going to be beginning soon at Pulaski Avenue, Laurel Ridge, and Fenimore. The school district has been contacted to make sure there isn't anything that affects the bus routes. Also, just wanted to let the community know June 1st is our 100th anniversary celebration. There have been so many people working feverishly on it. It's going to be a wonderful, grand time, and I'll leave the rest of the comments to the governing body on that event. I also want to extend my thanks to our Deputy Clerk Tara for all of your hard work, and it has been a great pleasure working with you and growing with you over the past 7 years. So moving on to, I think, the biggest issue in the room. So I just want to be clear that the governing body and administration have been actively working to strengthen and improve our relationship with our emergency response partners to ensure the safety and well-being of our residents, and as they are met consistently, swiftly, and professionally. We are extremely grateful to the volunteer men and women who serve and have served our township. The purpose of the study was to determine all facets of operations of the two agencies that provide fire and EMS services in an objective, unbiased, and statistical manner so that we can collectively move forward to ensure our residents have the most effective, responsible, again, capable, and professional emergency response services available. Our residents deserve nothing less, and quite frankly, more. So the handpicked team of the Public Safety Institute, just to kind of go over who they are and let the community know that these are people with a lot of service behind them. Chief Don Huber, he's a retired career fire chief and director for Irvington, New Jersey, former chief of staff of the New Jersey Division of Fire Safety, and fiscal monitor for the New Jersey Division of Local Government Services. He is the founder and chief operating officer of PSI. Vincent Grenice, Chief, Atlantic City Fire Department, retired and Chief Technical Advisor to PSI. Alan South, Battalion Chief, Millstone Fire Department, and partner with Central Jersey Compliance Company, also previously volunteer with Pemberton Township Volunteer Emergency and Fire Company. Andrew Hagenberg, Captain, Millstone Fire Department, and partner with Central Jersey Compliance Company. And Chief Craig Augustoni, Pemberton Fire Department, and former Regional Planning Supervisor with New Jersey Department of Fire Services. So, yes, it started in 2022, and it ended, not that long ago. I want to just address the public statement that was posted by the Hainesport Emergency Squad, and I believe it's from Chief Bush. The plea to help save our EMS squad, which was the end of April, and I do notice that Chief Bush is not here, but I do commend all of the volunteers for being here. He stated, and it was stated tonight, how much money is saved by having an all-volunteer squad, and, I do concur with that, but, when there is a billing for service, it's billed to the insurance company. And if there's, back in January of 2022, when 48% of the calls, February of 22, 20% of the calls, March, 30%, April, 32%, May, 50%, July, 73%, 76%, increasingly getting better. But there were a couple months where we're at 20% call rate in 2022. 2023, as was reported in the 4 reports that we received, 60% call rate, 84% call rate, 80, 92, getting better. But back in January of 2022, or let's just say February, when 20% of the calls were met by Hainesport Emergency Squad, 80% of the calls were met by either Lumberton Emergency Squad or America, and they bill for services. During that year, this township never received a complaint from our residents for being billed for services. However, I did receive a complaint last year from a resident who gives faithfully every year to the squad donation, wanting to know if the Hainesport Emergency Squad was going to pay her $100 copay because she contributes to the squad. And I said, unfortunately, we cannot answer that for you. You please reach out to the squad. So there were never any concerns from the residents during those time periods, the 80%, 32%, 43% times when they were serviced by other mutual aid agencies. So I understand what you were saying. I think all that we want here is to look at the facts. We're not, we don't want to get into the emotional response of this because we appreciate all of the hard work of our volunteers. That is not the question here at all. What is being looked at is the response rate, the mutual aid that's being tasked to our neighboring towns, and we don't contribute to those entities. We don't pay for their insurance, but they're responding to 70% of our calls at times, or even 40% of the calls, and those mutual aid companies respond to 100% of their calls because they are staffed by duty crews. And yes, they do soft bill, but there are agreements with those other towns that they cover that the town pays for those co-pays, or if they don't have insurance, the town pays for their ambulance ride to the hospital. Hainesport Township does contribute in its operating expenses, which was the largest piece of that puzzle, $30,000 a year, and has been for a very long time, to the Hainesport Emergency Squad. It also donates $90,000 a year to the fire company. The rigs are owned by Hainesport Township taxpayers. Hainesport Township pays for the gas, and up until today, Hainesport Township was paying for general liability insurance, workers' comp insurance, professional liability insurance. So to say that the town does not support the emergency squad is not true, and I don't think that was the question here tonight. I think what needs to be reviewed, and that was what we did with the PSI group, a very capable group of professionals, was to objectively look at the statistics and the facts and the numbers. And I do have a response from the Public Safety Institute group on the call from Mr. Bush's, Chief Bush's call to the community for support on April 29th. Give me a minute, please. I need to find it. My apologies. I know it's in here. I just highlighted it. Here we go. I had several email chains with Shelby McCarr early in the study. This included emails, phone calls, and 2 in-person meetings prior to the change in administration, which I do have those emails. Squad members were visited during one meeting. During this meeting, contact info was provided and outside surveys answered. Very limited engagement was had. Surveys were provided to all squad members early in this process, with, again, very limited response. Shelby McCarr worked with us to both distribute these to squad members and obtain them for memberships for our team's review. When Chief Bush came into office, we allowed him time to transition into his new role, thus the extended length of the study. Chief Bush did exchange a few emails early on, a Zoom meeting, and a phone call. I did attempt to contact Chief Bush several times via phone to both his cell phone number, squad's phone number, and his business phone number to no avail. In reference to document requests from our team to the ambulance squad, the only document we received back was the squad roster with ranks and addresses. We followed up to that information asking for clarification, which we did not receive. That follow-up included requests for incorporation paperwork, clarification on membership positions, policies and procedures, and finance information. This request was followed up with phone calls with no answer. By this point, we determined we had enough information to proceed with the study based on the information provided to us by Chief McCarr and the info obtained from Burlington County Communications in regards to call response. And Chief Huber provided a one-page response as well, which I will not read, but it is available. I have a lot of information and documents that are available to the public at any time if anybody would like to come in and review them or open request. Again, the good news is that in the end, and given the valued input we did receive along with data we received from the county as well as our own research, study, and observations, I am confident the findings and recommendations detailed and provided to the Hainesport local governing body in the PSI Fire and EMS report are credible and valid. I don't want to get into the weeds with the amount of dialogue, research, conversations that I have received and fielded for quite some time. So we're here today. Anytime any of the volunteers want to come in and talk to me one-on-one, my door is always open. But again, we're here today to look at the facts and to look at the response. And our residents deserve in today's day and age to be responded to. Our residents make donations faithfully. The township taxpayers pay $30,000 a year. And then there are times where 80% of the calls are being fielded to our mutual aid partners, and those residents' insurance is getting billed, and they're paying those co-pays. So these are all facts, and all I ask is that we all get together, we present the facts, and we move forward, whatever that is. But again, those are just recommendations. That is not a decision, and they have every right in that PSI study to make a recommendation. And there's many recommendations for both emergency services and the emergency squad and the fire company. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paula.
Thanks, Paula.
Mr. Gillespie?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes, just a couple of things. I wanted to say how much the Green Team enjoyed representing ourselves at Earth Day. And please do go to the website on the Environmental Commission web page. You will find a link to an interactive map of community assets created by Samantha Loveman of the Green Team, and do have a play with it. It's a lot of fun. We've now resubmitted the Sustainable Jersey application for the second time and looking forward to getting another round of feedback and hopefully a few more points. I attended the first two talks in the 100th anniversary history series. Both were amazing. I do recommend that if you can get out on either one of the Saturdays or the Tuesdays, you do try those. Of course, I'm looking forward to the June the 1st event as well. I ran the Hainesport 5K in 31:15. Mr. Gillespie.
What was that?
31 minutes, 15 seconds, Mr. Gillespie.
Good for you. Good for you.
And there were a bunch of other Hainesport residents there enjoying that run who also placed in their age groups, so it was a great event. I'd like to thank Tara for being an absolutely wonderful assistant clerk, and I cannot believe how quickly she responds to my Sustainable Jersey requests. She's amazing. Thank you all for coming, and have a great night.
Okay. Ms. Twardy?
Okay, I have a lot to say, so I'm just going to briefly touch on them,
Oh
okay?
dear, set the timer.
Set the timer. Okay, but I want to first of all welcome everybody. It's so nice to see all of you here. We understand that you would not be here unless you were concerned about issues, and they are very important to us. And as many of you know me and are alerting me, the residents' wishes are primary to me. and that's how it's always going to be. So welcome, everybody. But I want to say, congratulations on our Earth Day. The Green Team, the Conservation Team, Harbor Baptist presented us with incredible artwork. The Buddy Bench was dedicated to the school. That was a success. Jerry had a good compost demonstration. The Burlington County Library was there. Andy was there selling shirts for us. Andy, Lorraine, and Chris were reading to the children. It was all wonderful. Thank you, Donna. Another great job, and your team. Congratulations. I'd also like to say there were great speeches by Hal and Elise, very nicely done, and Conley, and we are looking to more speeches from John Anderson and Letitia Kelly. We also had a nice event when we named Bob Shinway, and we had a nice turnout that day, and it was nice to see so many people come out and support that. On a personal note, I'd like to thank my First Holy Communion second graders, especially the Hainesport second graders, who made their First Holy Communion on May 4th. We are so busy with the anniversary, I've ordered more shirts. The t-shirt sale is going very, very well. I ordered more shirts and different colors, so be on the lookout for those. We are running a cornhole tournament. It's $25 a team, so that would be 2 people on a team. The winners, both of the winners, will be getting the cornhole tournament boards. So they're very nice. And then we'll have second and third prize winners depending on how many people we have participating. So you can sign up here at the Township. It's on the Facebook with an email address, and even the day of the event, we can take sign-ups for that. So we're looking forward to Memorial Day. May 27th, we'll have a very nice celebration here, and we hope that many of you can come out. June 1st, of course, is our big day. I can't believe it's finally here after all this time. So I'd also like to thank you, Tara. It's been a pleasure working with you. We're going to miss you. And I would just like to say thanks again for all of you coming out. God bless you, and God bless Hainesport. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Klaus?
Oh, I think Karen about covered it all.
I know.
But I did enjoy Earth Day. I mean, when I get a chance to talk about dirt and composting, hey, that's just my thing, you know what I
Did
mean?
anybody get a picture of you?
I don't know if I got a
Those
picture, but
overalls?
I enjoyed it. That's my way of giving back to the community, and, you know, I don't put things out to be discarded. I let them compost on my own and reuse them in my yard. So that's my thing, and I wish more people would do it. It would be more of a sustainable Hainesport. So, and unveiling the Bob Shinway sign, that was great. We had some great people. I felt like I was back in high school with all the people there I knew from high school. It was really nice. I really enjoyed seeing all the people that all together that I grew up with in this town. So it was very nice. So other than that, I look forward to June 1st. So everybody has to come out and enjoy it. So that's it from me.
Indeed. Okay, Mr. Montgomery.
Also like to thank everyone for being here and your concern and your love and passion for our town. I was also able to be there for the dedication of the Bob Shinway last Tuesday, and was happy to see all the people there. Just a couple comments here or there. Some things that we go through are for consent orders. There are a couple block parties that neighborhoods have been asking for block parties, and they get blocked off, and as a township, we help them. It's just wonderful. It's great. So if you live in a neighborhood that has one, great. If not, consider it. Consider getting together with your neighbors and having a block party. We did one in Sage Run, just impromptu. We didn't ask for permission, but it was many, many years ago. I wish I had known, because I would have liked to have done that. So I just want to point that out. It's a great thing. So consider that. Memorial Day is coming up, and we're going to be honoring our veterans. So if you can come out, please do 9 o'clock on Monday, at 9 a.m. the 27th. One of the things about the flood damage prevention that we had passed, these fines are hefty. I like to think that our residents and our businesses do not dispose of solid waste, but it happens. So if you see something, please report it. These fines are $2,500 to $10,000. It's for real. We don't want it. We want to stop it, and I'm happy to support that. As a former Boy Scout and part of our environmental commission here, I'm really proud of the group for the work they did with the research they did for the trees and all that, and I'm happy that we are not just passing it, that we really looked into it and doing the best for our town. So I'm proud of that. Let's see. Tara, wow. Best wishes to you. Good for you, bad for us that we're losing you. But say that with congratulations, and we know you'll do well. And let's see. Other than that, God bless Hainsport. Thank you.
Okay, so, yes, the Bob Shin unveiling was very nice. I met a lot of people from various parts of town and people that knew him from when he was the mayor. They knew him when he was the guy down the road with the marina, a landlord. They were landlord, friends and family, and it was a perfect day to have an unveiling. Yes, Conley Brooks will be talking again on the 21st at 7 p.m. And it's amazing some of the stuff he comes up with. So it's well worth the visit, because I do not believe he's repeating what he said last Saturday. Memorial Day, I believe we will all be here on the 27th at 9 a.m. to commemorate the day. Most of us on the, I believe a number of us here on the committee will also be going to the county's Memorial Day ceremony on 5:30 at 11 a.m. If anyone cares to join us, we'll be laying a wreath there at the Veterans Memorial Park. We have several souvenirs and such things some are still available, some are getting dangerously low on quantities.
We have them ordered. The shirts are coming. I spoke with them again today. They are on their way.
Okay.
And they're still posted. Do we still have some shirts? Where is it?
In the office. There's still some in the office.
They're in the aisle, yeah.
Yeah, there's still some in the
Yeah,
office.
check them out.
I also want to thank all the volunteers that are participating in this 100th anniversary celebration. And that includes everyone here in this building, especially a fearless leader. Donna's been working her butt off for the last year and a half. It's been, well, God willing, and it's sunny. Everybody pray. It looks like it should be a fantastic event between the music, our local musicians, the beer garden. Can I mention that?
Yeah, you can.
As long as they're over 18.
What beers are brewing just for our event?
Exactly. We do have some beer that's being brewed.
The Haynes
The
Porter.
Haynes Porter.
Yeah.
And the Bull.
The Bull.
Breaking up with Lumberton Lager.
It should be 21, right? Drinking
Yeah,
age
not
is
20,
21.
Not
right?
over 18, as long as they're over 21.
It keeps changing. What do I don't drink.
I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, I don't know.
I think
It was 18 when I was,
You could be the designated
That
driver
was the
then,
last time
Leila.
I heard it. I am the designated.
It is 21, right? We know it's 21. We all know it's 21.
yeah, it was 18 when I was 17.
Pardon me?
If that makes sense.
Could I still mention something?
No, you can't talk again, Ken.
all right.
It's enough. Good enough.
Okay.
How many times have I to tell? And I personally would like to thank the members of the squad, the emergency squad, that have been there for me in the past and for my husband. And I have the greatest amount of respect for those people that volunteer their time. I don't know that their officers have the best interest at heart, but I do believe that the members of the squad do. That being said, I too know that I was given instructions that someone did not want a fuss made over them. But we here.
Since when do we listen to that?
On the committee. Felt that we wanted to do a little something for you, Tara. You're the only one I've known in that position since I've been elected.
Oh, my God.
And I just wanted you to have these.
Oh, thank you. Beautiful.
It's a Mercedes.
Thank you very much. I do. I'll find one. Thank you very much. Beautiful.
Good luck.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you all.
Nobody put it on Facebook. Okay, that being said, we have some business. Let's pay the bills.
If I may
Oh,
interject,
let's-
please, I have a couple that I'm asking to be added to the bill list,
Okay.
if you would please consider.
All right.
Purchase order 24-00306, vendor is CGP&H for COA planning services and administrative agent services out of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund in the amount of $4,774. Second is purchase order 24-00308 to Precision LLC in the amount of $2,603.84 for stage banners for the June 1st event. That's for the side scrims and the top stage banner, the graphic designing and shipping and printing of those. So I request a motion to add those two to the agenda.
Motion to add those listed to the agenda.
Second.
Mrs. Evans?
Yeah.
Mrs. Torti?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so those being added, can I have a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
I just have a question.
Sure.
Hate to be. Comcast, $418. It says buildings and grounds. How many buildings do we serve with Comcast? Just curious. I mean, it sounds high to me, just for this building.
The Public Works building and this building.
It's higher for businesses than it is for your home.
Oh, I'm aware of that, but it's only internet, not TV.
Correct.
Okay, good. That's good. Just double check.
Believe so.
Well,
I don't know if there's Comcast services at the street center.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or if it's just
No.
Verizon.
no, because I know that there's something bounced off the firehouse.
Yeah.
They use theirs, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, executive session, Resolution 2024-84-5, to enter into executive session.
Make that motion.
Second?
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
We expect to be about a half hour, and there may be formal action taken.
Can we take a 5-minute
Actually, I do have one last thing to mention. There are 427 minutes until the June 1st celebration. It's countdown.
4 PM, June 1st, be there. Bring your families.
So do we make a motion to go into close?
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Okay.
I'm going
And I
to
did
shut
announce that.
this off.
Yeah, you can. We're going to go in the back. 8:57.